And good morning, everyone. This is Sabrina Young-Wright, Assistant Director of Business Retention, Expansion, and Workforce Programs at Invest Atlanta. And I'm so excited to talk to Amy Hoover of Strongbox today. She is operating a co-working space here in the city, and we're looking forward to hearing what she has to say about how that space is looking with the city and what she's seeing in the future of co-working spaces here at Invest Atlanta. And in the city of Atlanta overall. Amy Hoover co-founded Strongbox West in 2009. It's Atlanta's largest co-working and shared office space located in West Midtown. She caters to several business types and entrepreneurs, priding herself on diverse and inclusive culture. And so ready to jump in with Amy whenever we can. Good morning, Amy. How are you?
Hi, Sabrina. I'm fine, thanks. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. So I'm so excited to talk to you today and learn more about co-working spaces here in the city. So Nathan shared a little bit about you, but can you tell us a little bit about your background for those who weren't able to jump in a little bit early today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yes, I co-founded Strongbox in 2009 with my business partner. We had run together another business that he co-founded in 1996 here in Atlanta called Talent Zoo, which was a search firm for people who worked in advertising and marketing. So our clients were ad agencies, marketing firms around the country. We shifted that to an online business in the form of a job board in 2008 when that recession started. And then in 2009, with a property that we owned on the west side, we launched Strongbox. At that point, there was a co-working place in Avondale States, but that was it in the city. So it was a new concept. It wasn't new in the country. There were lots of co-working spaces in some of the usual suspects, California, New York, tech hubs like Austin and Boulder. And it was an experiment to see if Atlanta was ready for that type of much larger. We outgrew the original one in 3 years. But we have always been on the west side. We chose the west side specifically back when we did relocate in 2005 is when we bought our first property over here. It was not, we didn't plant the flag on the west side, but it was still a little bit of a eyebrow raiser when we said where we were relocating to. We were coming from Inman Park, which Inman Park was nothing like it is now then. Inman Park was considered sketchy when we moved into a building there in 1999. So we've kind of found the outlying areas where we could get in and plant some type of flag and grow businesses and create jobs and give people opportunities in emerging neighborhoods, I guess.
Okay, that is awesome. I was going to ask you, what made you choose the West Side, but tell us instead about what made you start Strongbox. How did you become interested in the co-working space?
Well, it was interesting because it did actually come from having knowledge of how people were working from running Talent Zoo and talking to employers and watching technology kind of finally catch up with the idea of allowing people to have remote workers or working from home or teleworking. I think that a lot of companies were open to that concept, but the technology wasn't there. VPN connections weren't as stable as they are now. Everyone had servers on site. People weren't using cloud computing, largely then. So I think as those two things converged, the recession hit, a lot of people were laid off and reinventing themselves. Technology allowed for people to effectively work remotely. Wi-Fi and internet bandwidth strengths were, ramping up to allow for businesses to have more of that and to work effectively. So we watched a lot of workers that we knew from the advertising and marketing industry who lost jobs, started to reinvent themselves, either became freelancers or started their own businesses. And then we realized people from all different sectors were doing the same thing. Maybe coming from corporate America, they had to go to that, what we now call a side hustle, but no one called it back then. And try to turn it into a business. And we thought, aha, we've got this building and it's all wired up to be a business. It's got a security system. It's got a nice kitchen. It's got conference rooms. Let's open this up and see if Atlanta's ready for the idea of coming to a shared space and working every day. And eventually we were. So it was at that point, you could go up to 100 people on the street, like you're doing a Family Feud type survey, and maybe one person knew what co-working was, and they were probably a developer at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But it caught on more. It became a more everyday thing for people that did work in startups, especially. So startups, web dev, and freelancers were like the first core group of customers that we had. And now
Right.
it's a little.
So that's interesting. What types of businesses are you seeing in co-working spaces right now? And I know there may have been a shift because of COVID, but typically, what types of businesses occupy co-working spaces, and especially Strongbox?
Well, yeah, BC before COVID. Strongbox, we catered always to all types of businesses and didn't try to have one specific focus, like only B2B businesses or only SaaS-based businesses. So we made the decision early on that we wanted it to be a very diverse group of businesses so that people could find like-minded folks that worked in complementary areas. Let's say you have a web designer who needs a developer to work on a project. Oh, we have several of those in the building. You guys can work together. And it's turned into everything from the usual suspects of web-based businesses to we have makerspace. So we've had a pottery studio in here. We have fashion designers that create out of here. We have a school that teaches people how to be individual trainers, fitness trainers. So several marketing firms. It just really runs the gamut. So, and I love that. I think that's great. People that work in events and production and AV and marketing. It's a little bit of everything. And tax accountants, anyone that needs a space to work that kind of likes to have a community around them where normally they might be working in a more isolated environment. Or if you're a growing company that wants the flexibility to be able to grow, let's say you start with 3 people, you want to hire 3 more, then you want to hire 10 more, we can move you into larger spaces here because we have them. So it's just a neat experiment of watching young, emerging, or just small businesses grow, work together, become friends, start projects together. We've seen people start businesses together, side businesses together who met here. So that's a long answer, but it's become a little bit of everything. Most people know about co-working now, whereas in the early years, it was very much a startup tech-based type folks. But no,
Right. That's a good mix of businesses that you have there. That's very interesting. Just a wide range.
And it runs the gamut, age-wise, ethnicity-wise, LGBTQ. It's a little bit of everything. You can't really not fit in here because there are just so many different kinds of people, and we all coexist and feel good about it, and it's a lot of fun.
That's great, and that's a perfect fit for Atlanta. I love it.
Yeah, I think you walk in here and you get a slice of Atlanta on any given day.
Exactly.
Yes.
So again, there's just huge implications of COVID right now, and it's made it so that co-working and gathering in space has changed and potentially changed forever, or at least there's a different shift or a different move coming. What do you see as the future of shared workspaces coming out of the pandemic?
I think that what we'll see is that if one co-working place's concept was to put as many bodies in as small a place as possible every day, that's going to be a challenge because I don't think that A, it will necessarily be safe, or B, something that people are mentally ready to do again anytime soon. We have lots of individual offices where people can go and be on their own. We've got lots of open space, so it's easy to keep a 6 to 8 foot distance from people. So I think it just depends on what kind of physical space you can offer someone. And then I think we'll have a trickle down effect also from more established companies that would normally lease, let's say like a large Class A space with lots of room for all of their employees to work together every day. That might not come back for a long time. So we've been contacted by lots of companies in the past 3 or 4 weeks looking to change their model of how they staff their office and have something like us where certain people come in certain days of the week, others work remotely, just so they can keep people at a place where it's safe to spread out, but their employees aren't isolated at home either. And it reduces their footprint and keeps their costs down to have a space like this available and to utilize. And, because we take care of all the utilities and the internet and all of that. So it's really easy for a company to install people here and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
It's
changes have you all made internally at Strongbox to make it so that businesses they feel comfortable coming back to that space?
Well, we were pretty early on the signs up for hand washing and keeping guests out of the lobby and having like DoorDash meals dropped off in the vestibule. We were doing all that back in mid-February. As the cases started to come in Georgia and the schools were shut down, and then the mayor wanted a shelter in place policy in place, then we got really crazy about it. So it's like, one person in the kitchen at a time, bleaching like 3 times a day, every handrail, the coffee pot handles, just anything that someone might touch, getting bleached several times a day. When we start to reopen in whatever form that it's going to look like as far as a timeline, we will be asking people to wear masks in the lobby when they're waiting to visit someone or they have an appointment with one of the companies. We will have masks to provide if that's not an option. We'll have hand sanitizer. We have a no-touch thermometer, so we'll be able to make sure that people aren't running a fever and possibly at risk for the other folks in here. So it's what I think about all day, every day. Like, how can we make this a safe place when people are coming out of their houses again, out of their homes again to work? Like, what can we do? And so, my life is all about bleach right now. It's about
Right,
bleach, keeping
exactly.
people 6 feet apart. It's a lot
Yes,
about
absolutely.
right now. We want to make it as safe a place that people can come. And I have been joking this whole time. I don't think you're going to find a cleaner building in town right now, just because we really went bananas with it. And we locked down their conference rooms, we sanitized them, and we locked the doors, and no one's been in those, just so we can keep the places that we know that people are at and touching, that we know when we need to sanitize, what we need to sanitize. So we didn't quite put arrows on the floor like the grocery stores, but trying to direct people in the ways that are the safest for them. So
Have you seen any trends in career opportunities based on your companies within Strongbox or anything you've seen with Talent Zoo? And speaking of Talent Zoo, can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, Talent Zoo is largely focused on the advertising and marketing. Well, it's solely focused on advertising and marketing. And that sector, I think, is just really now in the past couple of weeks started to feel the brunt of it, with not just furloughs, but full on layoffs. And I've watched several of these recessions in that industry, 99 and 2001, then 2008, now this. It might take a minute, but I think that when you're looking at companies that are, in a startup world where they're providing a new product or a service that is focused on a post-COVID world, where whether it's healthcare and safety and anything like that that can make people feel good about being out in society and be able to stay safe. So I think that the creative juices are going to be flowing soon for young entrepreneurs who can find a service or a product that they can offer that will help people be healthy and stay safe, and all of the things that we're going to be really focused on for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, however long. So I think there may be career opportunities emerging in places that didn't even exist before this. And of course, gig economy drivers, those kind of jobs are open now, working at retail, grocery stores, that kind of thing. But that's not everyone's style or type of work. But I think that more traditional tech-based work is going to come back, because businesses are going to pivot and figure out what they can do to serve the new economy. So,
What types of pivots or different changes have you seen businesses within your co-working space make so that they could continue to thrive and prevail throughout this pandemic?
well, specifically one of the fashion companies where their focus was doing prototypes and small batch designs for sustainable fabrics and like new technology fabrics, they have pivoted to making masks and PPE equipment that are certified, maybe not N95, but surgical level. And so not just quite the cotton masks that, our moms are all making us, like a level up from that. I love my mom's masks. They're adorable and I wear them every day. But, they started doing hardcore production on a level up from that healthcare workers, can safely wear around their patients, that kind of thing. The university that's here that trains personal trainers, they pivoted to online learning versus in-class learning because, of course, you can't have a bunch of people working on gym equipment through all of this. That's not a safe way to operate. So they pivoted to online classes. So, I'm watching people get creative with things. So those are two specific examples.
Those are good. Those are great examples. And yes, I have one of those, the masks from my mother-in-law made. So
It's the only thing I've hoarded through this whole pandemic. Like I don't hoard food. I don't hoard toilet paper. I hoard my mom's masks. Like, sorry.
exactly. Yeah, you got to keep them in the car, so you always have them on hand.
Car, two in the office, four at home. Like one that hangs on the doorknob. They're everywhere. It's like a security blanket.
So we're being safe though, so that's good.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm looking for some other questions I see we're getting some questions over here in our chat. So I'll go ahead and start asking some of those as well, just throughout the conversation, instead of waiting until the end. But one of those is that, how do you see Atlanta as being a leader in the post-COVID economy?
I think that Atlanta is a very resilient business community, and there are a lot of people that have a strong entrepreneurial spirit, and that there will be folks that figure out, hey, I know how to do this, and I can make this a business now that can support me, my family, other people as I grow and are able to employ folks. It is a shame to watch the TV and film production industry have to go on a halt. That was such a vibrant part of the business community, but they'll find a way to be back. We need entertainment. So something, I'm sure that they'll be creative on figuring out how to ramp that back up again. But
That's what they do. They're creative.
I mean, we have a business community here in a city that is just really good at being resilient and thriving and growing and changing and figuring things out. And, we have a lot of grit. It takes grit, it takes hard work, it takes fortitude. And I mean, Atlanta's got all that in spades.
Right. We do have a lot of creatives here in the city of Atlanta, and actually Invest Atlanta focuses on, we have a creative industry focus at Invest Atlanta that we're working to ensure that they continue to thrive. So we have different things that are about to launch for that creative industries in the city. So hopefully we'll see them come back, and I'm sure we will. They're very resilient, and again, they're creative, so they'll think of ways to pivot and make it through.
They always do. It's fun to watch. It's just like you might be able to kick us down for a minute, but we're not going to stay down. We're going to get back up and be fighting. So
exactly. So with your co-working space, with Strongbox, if there's a business out there now who's looking to move out or who may be interested in a co-working space or pursuing that as an option, how will someone go about doing that, and how will they reach you?
The best way to reach us is always via the contact form on our website. It shoots an email out to several of us on the staff so we can reply as quickly as possible. The doors are still locked and closed all day. Our delivery drivers have codes to get in, and our members all have codes to get in. So current members have had access to the space the whole time. We are doing tours by apartment, socially distanced with masks, to be able to show people options of what we have available. And for whether it's someone investigating for maybe they think a July start date, or some people are wanting to come by this week to start immediately. They want a private office where they can have their own space and not work out of their home, or, coffee shops aren't necessarily going to be a good idea for a while because their model is largely lots of little tables close to each other. So if someone comes here and takes a tour, they'll see that there are so many places where there is room to spread out, and it's not a sardine can. It's not like you have to sit right on top of someone to be able to have workspace here. Like I said, we reconfigured workstations so that they're separated and apart. We've got a lot of offices with doors that lock that you can just come in and out and go if you want. So we're conducting private tours and seeing what we can offer to someone that's ready and needs space, safe, secure space.
And that's for any business type, is that correct?
That's any business type. Someone that relies heavily on foot traffic, like a retail-based business, that model just doesn't really work here because, again, people just walking in off the street wanting to browse at something, that's just not how we operate. We try to remain mostly a members-only facility where, of course, companies can have visitors come and be greeted in the lobby, but no, we've never wanted to be a place where people just wander in off the street per se, because we do like to keep everyone, even pre-COVID, feeling like this is a safe place where they don't have to worry about what's going to happen to their laptop if they go to use the restroom, or leaving a monitor on their desk, when they're not here. So we've always taken our security very seriously.
Right.
It's just controlling entrance to the building and who's in. Every visitor signs in every time. So that's always been one of our primary concerns.
I know there are several other co-working spaces, they've just become a little bit more popular. But what is the difference between Strongbox West and other co-working spaces around Metro Atlanta?
Largely that we're affordable. We have what I every time I look, by far the best deals in town as far as rates go. And we've got a lot of free parking. We're dog friendly. We do keep tight security measures. We have food trucks come. We have, mixers. BC, before Corona. And we'll pick all that back up again. But we've just got a very laid back, kind of funky, eclectic vibe here. And I think that works for a lot of people, where the onset of the corporate co-working places just feel more corporate, and they're largely in a traditional Class A office building, which means the rates are significantly higher. So, yeah, it's the best deal in town.
Right.
So I'm proud to say.
What resources or what types of resources have you seen that would help other businesses looking to reopen during this time?
Well, I think that some businesses are going to need PR assistance, just to get the word out that they're doing X, Y, or Z, whatever they're offering. I think that something that a lot of businesses have needed during this time is just a little bit of help navigating what options are out there as far as grants and loans and things that might help them stay on their feet and keep people employed. There's a woman her company works out of here, who is a professional grant writer servicing not usually nonprofits, but she's offered her services to all of the companies that work here, navigating government sites, and just anyone who's been unfamiliar with that process of, trying to get money from the feds or the state or anyone like that. It's, it can be daunting.
Right.
I've done it before. So she's to offer her services. So, and I think a low cost way to get your business back on its feet and have a place where you could meet with a client, in a conference room that has plenty of room to, keep you socially distanced, in a building where, like I said, disinfectant is occurring recently. So and a place to go to be around people. I mean, sometimes it's just that feeling of community, and that there are other people around you, and you see other people working hard too, and you can swap stories or even resources. If someone says, hey, I found a great offshore team to help with X, Y, or Z, like, oh, I've been looking for that, or, oh, I know so-and-so at Invest Atlanta, like, let me introduce you. I think they can help you. So just having people around, they're also trying to be creative and, ramp things up. You get that energy, and sometimes that can be the difference. Just keeping your spirits up, knowing other people around are working hard, swapping stories, making introductions, resources. That I think that's going to be important to a lot of small businesses when they're ready.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think people do need that, that camaraderie, and, just being around like-minded people and who may be in a similar situation, the business community with them. So I think that's an awesome opportunity. Have you seen a shift in the types of businesses who are interested in co-working space? Or have you seen some say that, hey, this may not be what we're looking for right now? And what has been the difference you've seen in your interest level at Strongbox West?
One of the differences I've seen over the past 6 weeks is that some of the inquiries we're getting are from companies, as I mentioned before, that normally had a traditional office space that want to convert to something like a co-working model. So it's a little more flexible. Largely our plans are month to month. You can scale up and you can scale back down if you need to, without being caught in a lease. So I think that that's going to be, there might be some small businesses that don't want to come back to an office because they do realize during this time they can work remotely and it works for them. But I think there are going to be larger businesses that want to stagger schedules and just be able to feel the comfort and security of knowing that it's flexible, that if they don't correctly forecast their hiring needs, they don't have to take a larger space, they can take a smaller space, and you just kind of gauge the waters while still having like a professional environment to be around. So I think that companies are going to look at co-working from a bunch of different new angles now. There will be some that think, well, I don't want to be in an office with a lot of people I don't know, and I understand that. That's going to be a thing, but I also think that there are going to be a lot of businesses that understand that, if things are handled responsibly, that this is going to be a great resource for them, just simply because it's easy to move in, it's all plug and play, it's very flexible, in terms of commitments and leases and deposits, that kind of thing, and having so many different types of office structures here. Like I said, a company can grow. You can come in with just yourself, then maybe hire an intern, and then maybe that intern turns full time and you get a second intern, and then you make a couple other hires. Like, there's room to go up the chain here. So
Right,
I
right.
watch people move to a desk, move to an office, hire people, move to a bigger office, move to a larger office, and then what I call graduate out, and they're too big for co-working, and then they do go out and get a more traditional office space. So it's
Right.
it's nice. It's great to see people succeed and companies succeed like that. So that's why I call it graduating, because you made it. Go off into the world.
As the owner of Strongbox, and this will be one of our last questions, but as the owner of Strongbox and what you're doing there to maintain your viability and success, even during this pandemic, what advice do you have for other businesses looking to, stay strong during this time and come out of it successfully?
I say one of the best things that you can do is negotiate early on with suppliers and vendors to try to keep costs low. Research and take the time to know what the resources are out there right now in terms of grants and low interest loans. And I mean, I don't want to sound hokey, but just keep getting up every day and doing it. Some days it's hard. Some days the uncertainty and the anxiety of what's going to happen and when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen, it can feel overwhelming and exhausting. But is take a deep breath and say, okay, what can I do today to move this forward? Even if I just sit and make notes on the things I'm going to do next week, like try to do something productive that makes you feel like you advance the ball every day. Maybe not Saturday and Sunday. We could use a break sometimes, but
Take an off day.
and I think keeping a schedule is helpful. I know that I've talked to a lot of the other business owners here, and having the routine every day, like, kind of keeps some sanity, and it makes you feel like you're just advancing in some way, shape, or form versus doing the pajama all day. Like, I have my morning pajamas, my afternoon pajamas, and my evening pajamas. Get up, take a shower, even if you're working from home, get up, check in with people, try to keep some kind of routine and schedule. I think that's just good psychologically. And if you're trying to maintain, run a small business, or even not a small business right now, keeping your sanity, keeping your wits about you, and keeping the best attitude you can, it just goes a long way.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Well, Amy, we're out of time right now, and I just want to thank you so much for all that you do here in Atlanta, and thank you for keeping your business. And again, thank you for just your willingness to talk to us and share your story with other small businesses today.
I wish it were a rosier story, but it is what it is right now, and we're
It
doing
is what it is. Yeah.
figuring it out.
Just keep moving forward. That's all we can say.
Deep breaths, move it forward.
Exactly. Thanks to everyone who's watching and who's joined us today. We'll be sharing this broadcast to our Invest Atlanta YouTube and saving it on our Facebook page as well. You can find Strongbox on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Strongbox West.
Yep, all three
And again,
of Strongbox West spelled out.
there you go. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week for a Tuesday Talk. Thank you, Amy. You have a wonderful day.
Best Atlanta, you as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.